Addison Castillon adalah seorang mualaf pada tahun 2018 lalu. Dia merupakan seorang yang spiritualitas, dia hanya merasa tertarik dengan berbagai agama di dunia ini tidak lebih dari itu. Di saat bertemu dengan seorang muslim yang sedang sholat, awalnya dia merasa kalau itu adalah gerakan yoga, sehingga membuatnya tertarik untuk berbicara dengan orang itu. Inilah kisah selengkapnya dari Addison Castillon.
Hey everyone, Assalamualaikum. My name is Addison Castillon and I am a Muslim revert. So I've been a Muslim now for about 2.5 years, alhamdulillah. I reverted in November 2018, around that time. So it's been about 2.5 years. Alhamdulillah, these years have been honestly the best years of my life. I've completely transformed into the best version of myself. My life has completely transformed in the best way. And it's just been an amazing experience for me. I actually learned about Islam through the person who is now my husband. So we met in New York City. We were having a shared apartment. He moved in down the hall. Before that, I literally did not know any Muslims at all. I obviously have heard of the religion Islam, but I had never ever interacted with a Muslim before. Honestly, maybe in school once or twice. My school wasn't very diverse growing up. But yeah, I never knew Muslims, I never knew about Islam, I knew nothing. So he was the first Muslim that I met. Obviously we were living together, so we saw each other all the time, and slowly but surely we became friends. So we would hang out, he was living with his friends as well, so we would all hang out, and we became really close. And slowly but surely I started to learn about Islam through him, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. And at the time, I was a very spiritual person. I did not follow any religion. I never followed any religion growing up. Some of my family were Catholics, but we weren't super religious. I never connected with Catholicism. I never considered myself a Catholic, but I was very spiritual. I had studied Buddhism. I was very into spirituality, but I didn't connect with any religion that I had found so far. So I always believed in God, but I didn't really have any way that I was practicing any belief. You know, we would spend time together, we were friends, and I would see him do things like make namaz, make salah, prayer. And I would always be really interested. Oh, what are you doing? What does this mean? It kind of reminded me of a form of yoga or meditation. At the time I was really into yoga. So I was like, oh wow, this is really cool. I wanted to know what it was. So he explained it to me, and I was like, wow, this is really great. This is nice, you know. And I loved how he did it 5 times a day. This was always nice. He took time out of his day, multiple times a day, to connect with God. So this really, I liked this already from the start. So then the next thing that I was exposed to in Islam was Ramadan. I'm sorry, it's so loud here. Obviously, he was fasting for Ramadan. And we were friends, and we were really good friends. We were living in the same exact place, you know. So obviously we were around each other all the time. And when he would be fasting, first of all I asked him, what is Ramadan, what are you doing? And he told me all about Ramadan, how they fast to practice self-control, spiritual discipline, these kinds of things, having compassion and empathy for the poor, learning, not focusing on physical things, but focusing more on spirituality for this month. So I was like, wow, this is incredible, this practice is great, even non-Muslims should do this, you know, this is really good. So, and just being around him in general, when he was fasting and I wasn't, I'm not going to eat or drink around someone who's fasting. So I was like, okay, you know what? This sounds really great. Fasting, I know a lot of people, even non-Muslims, they do fasting. It's a great way to practice self-discipline, all these things. So I was like, okay, I want to do it. I want to do Ramadan with you. I didn't do it perfectly. Obviously, I wasn't fully committed to the fasting. I wasn't doing it for religious purposes. I just wanted to try it. So I tried my best, and I did a pretty good job. I did it, honestly, most days. It was an incredible experience. It was very difficult, but it was rewarding, and it was nice. It was just the celebration of Ramadan, all these Muslims together. It was an incredible experience. So then I was like, wow, okay, I really liked it. And then after that, slowly but surely, I just became more and more curious about Islam. But actually what happened was, I was very intrigued by Islam. But then when I started learning more about Islam and kind of doing my research, I found a lot of things on the internet, a lot of things that were just that I did not like at all. There was a lot of misconception that I found on the internet. I was like, oh wow, no, I do not like Islam. I don't want to follow Islam. I don't like it at all. Then I researched more because my husband, who was still my friend at the time, I would confront him about these things. I'm like, what is this? Like, I would find something on the internet that was wrong, either misogynistic or like male dominating, something like that. And he's like, this is not Islam. This is culture. This is not the real Islam. People do this culturally. So then I was like, okay. So he would give me good sources and help me kind of learn about his Islam. He would have such a friendly approach to it that it really, his approach was so nice and not forceful and not trying to impose his beliefs on me that I was willing and wanting to learn more about it. I learned more, and then I started to realize how a lot of the things that I had found were an intertwinement of culture and religion, and not the religion itself. So basically, I would find things online, and I would question it in a way that was doubtful, okay? Like, I would be doubtful of something, and I would question it. And for every single thing that I doubted or that didn't make sense to me, I would find an answer for every single thing that was logical, that had aligned with my previous beliefs, that was, like, everything I found was such a logical way of life. Everything. I remember, like, I would find something and then I'd learn the reason for it, and I'm like, oh my God, wow, that makes a lot of sense. Why doesn't everyone do this? You know? Everything that I found was either peaceful, it was so empowering for women. Like, things that I think that we haven't even grasped in the West yet. But yeah, there's so many things in Islam that we haven't grasped in the West. I feel like people always put the West as this, like, exemplar of what people should follow in other countries. But Islam is so ahead of the West in many ways. There's so many things in Islam that people are now just starting to follow. So all of these reasons, I was just like, wow. There's a really famous saying that I like. It goes something like, doubt is the beginning, not the end of wisdom. And for me, this was the case with Islam. So through my doubt, I had initiated this want to and this desire to research Islam. I had really doubted it. And I thought for sure, like, I would find things and I would be like, no, I don't like this at all. And through that, I was able to understand and really fall in love with Islam, honestly. It's a way of life. It's a beautiful way of life. It has guidelines for every single thing in life. So it's just, I really love the structure of it. Before, I was very spiritual, as I said before, but I had no structure or way to follow or kind of show my worship to God or connect with my spirituality. I had no way to practice this in my everyday life. And Islam gave me the guidelines and the ways to do so, that in every single thing that I do, eating, sleeping, talking, the way I dress, every single thing, I can connect with my spirituality and demonstrate my faith through those actions. So, alhamdulillah, I converted. I finally took the decision. I was like full on into it. I'm like, all right, I'm ready. I'm going to convert. Oh, I also, before that, I started eating halal before I converted. I took baby steps into it, baby steps. I had been vegetarian on and off for the years before. I really, really loved meat, but I struggled being vegetarian. But there's something about the mass production and the treatment of animals that it never resonated well with me. It never sat well with me. So when I learned about halal and how it's a conscious way of eating, you're aware of what you're putting into your body, you're aware of where your meat comes from. In order for it to be halal, it has to be treated humanely. There's a lot of these, it's kind of like free range, like organic. There's a whole list of standards in order for it to be halal. And all of these things, I was like, wow, this is a very conscious and a really good way of eating. So yeah, so I converted to Islam. Finally, I made the decision. I was full on into it. I was fully confident in what I was deciding in my decision.